Howdy folks, Jamboree here. Growing up, I really liked catching the family film Jack Frost on TV every Christmas. But I'm much older now, and I've heard that the film is actually pretty bad in hindsight, so it's time for me to pay a revisit to this Michael Keaton box office bomb. Jack Frost is the hard-working frontman of a rock band who is finally getting attention. Unfortunately, Jack keeps putting his work before his son Charlie and wife Gabby. He works so late at the studio one night that he ends up missing Charlie's hockey game, which he promised to show up at. To make up for this, Jack offers to take the family on a road trip, but his band suddenly has to go to work on Christmas Day, which breaks Charlie's heart. While Jack and his band are driving to their destination, Jack changes his mind about going, and heads home to be with his family. But sadly, Jack ends up in a car crash while driving back. A year later, a grieving Charlie makes a snowman that resembles his dad, and wishes on a harmonica for his father to come home for Christmas. Lo and behold, Charlie's snowman is suddenly magically possessed by Jack's ghost. The two of them get to bond again, and Jack has a chance to make up for lost time. Yes, this is the 50th 90s family movie that's about a workaholic father. I have mixed feelings about this movie's take on the trope. On the one hand, I can see why Jack's family is fed up of him, because it's clear that he's been absent from a lot of Charlie's life moments, and has a habit of breaking promises. But I wouldn't say that he's a complete failure for a dad and husband. When he is around, he's a very loving, supportive and fun father to Charlie, plus an attentive and affectionate husband to his wife. What truly bugs me though, is how the film never objectively sees things from Jack's perspective. Yes, Jack deserves criticism for failing promises and stuff like that, but think about the following. 1. Jack is not a one-man act. He has a band and recording crew to be responsible for. His role as a frontman affects these musicians' and engineers' livelihoods. 2. Half of the family's stable income comes from Jack's music career, and Jack is going to sometimes need extra studio time to deliver a high-quality album to potential customers, because a flop album could throw a wrench in their finances. 3. Jack is basically being forced to work on Christmas, because a privileged businessman has made that call to the band.
The head of Asylum has to see us. He's only going to sign one act, and there's like 3 other bands in the running, and the only way he'll sign is if we go to Aspen for his party.
It's unfair to blame Jack for a wealthy higher-up selfishness, and act like Jack turning down this opportunity has no possible consequences. I'm so tired of Hollywood boiling every workaholic dad story down to he should just work less, because it's not always that simple. Jack needs to avoid setting unrealistic expectations for his family and take any opportunities he can to be home with them, but his family also needs to understand the reality of Jack's demanding career. On top of these things though, the higher-ups in the music industry need to be more professional and understanding towards their employees. However, I will say that this movie does a pretty good job at tackling the theme of grief. I was quite surprised how a talking snowman movie was able to address grief this authentically. All the things that genuinely happen during the grieving stage is here. Like, there's a scene where Charlie sees that he's shoveling snow with his dad's shovel, and this tiny small thing triggers his mourning.
Charlie, really, it's okay. No, Mom, it's not okay. Hold on. Charlie? 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 It's okay. It's okay. Charlie, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Plus, Charlie's bully actually drops his guard down for Charlie, because there's this mutual understanding between them over what it's like to lose a dad. Sometimes grief can do that. You just suddenly forget any bitterness you have with a person, and focus on sharing the pain for a brief moment.
Look, Rory, it's too hot down here. If I don't get him up to the mountains, I'm gonna lose him.
He does look pretty bad.
Come on. You know what it's like not to have a dad.
It sucks.
Oh, and Jack's best friend, Mac, has given up music, because Jack was a big reason why he became a musician. It can be pretty difficult to carry on a passion that you associate with a deceased loved one.
Oh, playing with your dad, I never really thought about what music was. Music was life. It was just like breathing, really. So natural. After he died, music became a job.
My own dad died last year, and it's so weird how this movie came close to capturing what I went through. I also liked how this movie explored how things go on after Jack's death. You can tell that Gabby misses Jack just as much as her son, but she's still doing all she can as a mum.
Want a marshmallow?
Okay.
What do you want? 1? 2? Maybe 4? Maybe 500?
If he indicates that he's uncomfortable to talk about his grief, she will respect his wishes, but still show her love.
You tell me.
Mom, I'm trying to watch the weather.
Okay.
I also liked how Mac naturally ended up becoming part of the Frost family life. He could have been that creepy best friend who starts uncomfortably hitting on Jack's wife after he just died, but he's just a nice guy who is down to be a helping hand and never overstays his welcome. It never seems like Mac is trying desperately hard to become Charlie's new stepdad either. He just ends up being the right male adult figure around for Charlie, this calm-speaking and down-to-earth Yorkshireman who understands Charlie's grief and has the Frost family's best interests in mind.
Your dad was the real deal.
Do you think he wanted me to be a musician?
I think more than anything, he wanted you to be whatever you wanted to be. He didn't care what that was, just whatever made you happy.
I think what sends the film spiraling down quality-wise though, is the introduction of the magic snowman, the weakest part of this movie. Look, I don't actually mind that this film doesn't fully explain how its magic works. In fact, it's refreshing to see a fantasy transformation story that doesn't get bogged down by convoluted lore or rules dumping, with the harmonica being enchanted by sentimental value.
Hey, you know another thing about this harmonica? It has magic powers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. I'm serious. When you play that, no matter where I am, I can hear it.
It's everything else about the snowman that I dislike. Starting with the design. I mean, geez, just look at him. He's like a nightmarish fusion of the Cat in the Hat and the Stay Puft Marshmallow. So many shots of him honestly scared or frightened me, because he hits a peak uncanny valley that just doesn't sit right. I couldn't emotionally resonate with something this creepy. Now, Jack and Charlie do get to have some father-son rekindling, but these bonding moments are very short and rushed. Just when I was starting to get invested in their attempts to become closer, the scene would abruptly end. It makes a lot of the drama and character development come off as phoned in.
I was so busy trying to make my mark on the world, I didn't... You are my mark on the world.
You can tell that the movie was way more interested in the comedic antics of a walking, talking snowman, which I would be fine with if the shenanigans were actually funny. But dang does this movie waste any comedy potential. First, it's not that weird for a 12-year-old child to be talking to a snowman. They could be playing a make-believe game or creating an imaginary friend. So it seems forced when people are shocked or weirded out by Charlie's behaviour for comedy.
See? It's kind of scary.
Think how the snowman must feel.
Secondly, it's not that strange for a kid to be pulling a snowman around during the winter. Actually seems more than normal, so people's bewildered reactions are way too exaggerated. Thirdly, the snowman's movement throughout the house isn't that disruptive, and all the mum can do is express mild puzzlement. It's not that funny. Fourthly, hardly anyone actually sees the snowman talking or walking, because Charlie keeps hiding him. We get maybe one scene of a character cartoonily screaming at Jack, that's maybe it. Last of all, the snowman is an annoying chatterbox who keeps making unfunny jokes that never land. Not even the charms of Michael Keaton's voice can make this verbal diarrhea funny.
This could really sting. Okay, baby steps, baby steps. Oh man, yeah, this is getting hot. Whoa, this is hot. Oh, this is hot on my tootsies. Ooh, my tootsies is bleeding. Holy habanero!
This movie has no idea how to create humour from its premise. The filmmakers have written themselves into a corner and are really struggling for jokes, often resorting to cheap lowbrow gags. So what about the puppetry? Well, even though I found the snowman to be very hideous and creepy, I will praise the Jim Henson Company for doing their best with the animatronic puppet. His snowy flesh looks believably textured, the beady eyes have expressive brows, and his face is quite fluid. Plus, the bodysuit performers seem to be doing the best they can at carrying the weight and physics of the snowman's movements.
Hey, that thing's hot. What are you doing? I'm your father. All right, man, that's it. Okay, you're grounded.
The effects do switch to CGI for the more physically ambitious moments though, and the dated 90s computer animation just makes Jack look even more scarily uncanny. To conclude, while I wouldn't say that Jack Frost lives up to its bad reputation, because it does tackle grief very well, and some characters are written decently, but it's still a pretty average fantasy comedy that's mainly let down by its own concept's failings. I can imagine this film actually being a far richer movie if it was a nuanced drama about a boy pretending that his snowman is his dad, inspiring a compelling story about how a child uses his imaginary friend to cope with grief during the winter blues. So those are my thoughts on Jack Frost. What do you think of this movie? Let everyone know in the comments below, and don't forget to click that like button. I've been Jamboree. Feel free to subscribe. Cheerio, folks.
Fred Flintstone, you've arrived. I'm only one man. Not from the back. It doesn't get any better than this.
Steven Spielberg presents The Flintstones. The Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas.